heard for most of the last hour, if you were listening, my rant about, in my opinion, of the general insanity of the libertarian notion. In fact, we spent the first 15 minutes of the hour debating Matthew Feeney from Reason Magazine, of the general insanity of handing over to private corporations our national security apparatus and our national security systems. And this, I mean, there are multiple dimensions to this. And Shahid Buttar is with us. He is the executive director of the Bill of Rights Defense Committee and an attorney, a civil rights attorney, BORDC, as in Bill of Rights Defense Committee.org is his website. And Shahid, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me on, Tom. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And yeah, in fact, thanks for coming back on the program. Let's go back to first principles here. To what extent does our government have the permission, and to what extent do they have the potential to abuse that permission to compromise our individual civil rights in the name of the greater good and national security?
I love that you asked the question that way because it gives me a novel way to answer it. Our government certainly does not have the permission of we the people. That's expressed in the Constitution that founded the Republic. It has gained the permission of Congress, particularly in the FISA Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act amendments of 2008, when in the middle of the presidential campaign in 2008, Congress, with then Senator Barack Obama's support, authorized exactly what the original FISA law in the 1970s was passed to prohibit, basically giving the keys away to the National Security Agency. So Congress has given permission, even if we the people have not. The matter has appeared before the Supreme Court, which decided just this spring in Clapper versus Amnesty International that the NSA stands above the law, that until someone can produce secret government documents that establish that they are the object of surveillance, no one anywhere has the right to challenge that illegitimate, abusive, corrupt, and clearly unconstitutional surveillance. And that's the state of the law.
Yeah, and that was a very Osirian catch-22 type of Supreme Court decision.
Quite.
We can't decide this because you don't have the proof, and you don't have the proof because the government won't give it to you, and your whole complaint in the case is that the government won't give you the proof.
Right, exactly. And I've written a lot about it in terms of its implications for privacy and accountability. One thing I haven't talked much about, but that is really meaningful here, is that the role of the courts. We're talking about the courts marginalizing themselves as an independent institutional check on executive abuses, and that ultimately degrades the republic in much the same way that the corporate takeover of Congress degraded the republic. And we see both of those forces coming to a head in the National Security Agency's assault on the Fourth Amendment.
It was James Madison who said that no nation could exist as a I'm paraphrasing wildly here. I don't remember the exact quote, but words to the effect of, during times of war, the powers of the executive are greatly expanded. His ability to pass out favors, to actually have executive power, and that in part for that reason, because of that expansion of executive power during time of war, no republic can exist over the long term in a state of perpetual war. Isn't the state of perpetual war pretty much what we have now? And to what extent has that been brought about by, like we have this perpetual war on drugs, which is being promoted by the for-profit prison industry and the for-profit drug testing industry? Mm-hmm. And, to what extent do we have a perpetual war on God only knows what or whom, various days of the week, whether it's terrorists or Islam or Iraqis or, we've got this perpetual state of war that seems to be brought about by a perpetual state of war industry.
Absolutely, and it's war industries. You located the private prison industry. There's also all the weapons manufacturers, and I think the latest front for them is particularly interesting. It's local police departments to whom they want to sell drones for surveillance purposes. What we're observing here is the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about 60 years ago, turning its fangs on the American people and doing it in a way that is doubly corrupt because they're taking our money to do it. And this is an area where I find my line on the Obama administration with respect to my own political beliefs is that it's turning me into a libertarian, right? I used to have a...
No, don't do that, Shahid.
Well,
please don't.
I'll give it to you like this. It is.
That's like heroin.
Well,
I mean, it numbs the pain for a while, but seriously, the long-term consequences are awful. I'm sorry.
Talking to you is my methadone in that.
Okay, there you go.
But no, it does strike me as doubly offensive that there is a constitutional wound in the surveillance en masse, untethered from any suspicion at all, which is just to say we live in a surveillance state of precisely the sort that the Constitution was set up to prevent.
Right.
And at the same time, it is our taxpayer dollars being used to do it in secret, being given to corporations who have been immunized by Congress from lawsuits by we the people demanding remedies for the abuses of our rights. And that's corrupt in so many different dimensions, because it's the telecom companies lobbying Congress for immunity, gaining access to taxpayer funds as a corporate teat, and then being insulated for the abuses that they heap on us with the backing of the government later on when these abuses finally come to light. And now you have members of Congress throwing up their hands and running for the hills saying, I didn't contemplate this when I wrote the Patriot Act.
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah, Sensenbrenner. Yeah, but and I don't disagree at all with anything you said. And I would add to that had the Supreme Court not back in the mid 19th century and right up until today, literally, had they not invented out of whole cloth this dual doctrine that corporations are persons and money is speech, a doctrine that not only has never been voted for by any legislature, but has been voted against hundreds of times by state and federal legislatures, and been decried by presidents from Thomas Jefferson through Grover Cleveland's 1887 State of the Union address, where he talked about corporations, which should be the carefully constrained servants of the people, have become their masters. The iron heel of the corporate boot is now upon the neck of the average citizen. I mean, this was 1887. He was talking about the 1886 Santa Clara County case. The President of the United States in his State of the Union address, that without that doctrine, we would not have the corruption of our government by these corporations. And the libertarians would love to have even more corruption by corporations, because they say that governments are always corruptible and corporations are incorruptible. So take off all the limits from the corporations. But I will give the libertarians this, and this is, I was riffing about this earlier. Last night I heard a quote progressive commentator say, I'm not all worried about this because Google already can read my email, and the guy, the unemployed at the bank can look in my checking account. Why should I worry?
The Washington Post with the same idea.
Yeah, and my response is, Google cannot show up at your house with a gun. Right. The bank employee cannot legally take you off and render you to Egypt.
The state, because it has the monopoly on the armed use of force. Right?
That's absolutely right, but our government can. The point that the libertarians make, and that's why, frankly, it's so horrific. We just have 30 seconds left, so I'm sorry, Shahid, but what do we do about this?
This is really about a clarion call to the American people to come together across those political divisions, across the divisions we might have about the society we want, to join together around those first principles that you mentioned. Whether or not we've given permission to our government to abuse our rights wantonly without any shred of indignation. And this will take a grassroots movement. I would invite your listeners to reach out to us at organizing@bordc.org. We work with grassroots to build grassroots coalitions around the country, and that's what it's going to take to restore civil liberty.
Shahid Buttar, the executive director of the Bill of Rights Defense Committee and the civil rights attorney, BORDC.org, as in Bill of Rights Defense Committee.org is the website. Be sure to check it out. Shahid, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Always great talking. We'll be back.